My name's Sean Hodkin. I'm a professional tennis player from Scunthorpe, and this is my journey. So we're going to get straight into the action. It's day 2 of the UTR PTT Cardiff. I won my first round match, but now I was facing a very tough opponent, Welsh number 1, James Story. So recently James has risen up the rankings pretty quickly. He's around 500 in the world and he's in good form. So I knew this one was going to be very tough, but I was going in with the mindset of everything to gain, nothing to lose. And I was just going to go out there, try and play my best, try and fight as hard as I could and see what I could get out of it. So I won the toss and decided to serve, which is something that I do a lot. I know that it's quite common for players to choose to return, but I quite like to kick off serving because it's one of my strongest shots, and I also like to think that I'm going to hold quite a long way through the set and put pressure on. My intention was to try and take the ball on, step inside the baseline when I could. I knew that if I was going to have a chance of winning, then that would be what I have to do. So I knew going into this match that James serves extremely well, but he also plays very solid from the baseline and he does like to move forward, very good at doubles, so pretty handy around the net as well. So I guess my goal was to try and step up, keep him at the baseline and also not back off against his serve. I wanted to try and take it on. I do quite like to do that against big servers because I feel like if I start pushing the return around, I get really passive. So I actually find it's better to go the other way, try and take it on, get inside the baseline, cut off the angles. I'm just going to act like I knew everything about this shot. Totally meant that. So as you can see, trying to step inside the baseline, take it on. I know I did chip it, but I feel like anything I can do just to take a bit of time away, put a bit of pressure on, is probably going to be a good idea. So I did actually get a breakpoint chance very early on, which was quickly snuffed out. I don't think that I really committed to the return. I know that James hit a big serve. And then, yeah, it was straight back onto my serve. The early games in sets are really good chances to get an early break, especially when players are just warming up, they're getting settled in, maybe a little bit nervy. Saying that, in my second game, I was under a bit of pressure on serve myself. I just thought to myself, stick to process, try and get inside the baseline, play aggressive, and play with good margin. These moments are often about just backing yourself and staying really calm. A lot easier said than done. I felt like I was pretty lucky there. I probably should have been a little bit more positive in that rally, stepped up and tried to do something. But again, I got an error. It wasn't a forced error, and then managed to squeak a hold. Again, I don't feel like I'm playing a bad game here. I feel like I'm doing pretty much everything that I'm setting out to do. Sometimes you just get it when your opponent just serves really well. But anyway, back to my serve. Again, in this rally, not really doing enough with the ball, just being dictated a little bit too much. Should have gone for a little bit more depth or maybe gone for something a little bit earlier on in the rally, especially behind my own serve. This was more like the play that I wanted to be doing. And this wasn't. So I got broken on a pretty stupid drop shot, but it's easy to look back and say that was a crap decision. If I would have made it and it was a winner, my opponent was behind the baseline, I would have thought it was really smart. But I guess I should have just backed myself, gone after it a little bit more, maybe sent a bit more of a message and just sparked a winner off that ball. But again, everything's easy in hindsight. So this is more the point that I wanted to be playing. I wanted to be moving up, taking the ball on, moving to the net, putting the ball away. Didn't really want to be scrapping behind the baseline the whole time and trying to hustle balls back. I wanted to be trying to dictate. You can really feel it when a player starts to play with more confidence, and I could definitely feel like this was happening in the later stages of the first set. And it was becoming more and more difficult / unlikely for me to be able to make a comeback. But I was still trying, still doing what I could to make it tough, and then forcing him into some difficult situations, which he was getting himself out of with his serve. So 5-3 down, looking to try and get a hold and then try and put some pressure on. But not with shots like that. So I ended up losing the first set 6-3. And looking at the stats, it's not a million miles away. I'm just giving away some cheap errors at the wrong moments. Crazy what bits of pressure can do and bits of overthinking. All we can do is go again in the second set. So my opponent started off serving, and he was carrying on with the same confidence that he had in the first set. I definitely started to hit my spots better on serve in the second set, and I also started to throw my second serve into his body a little bit more, put a bit more juice on it, try and pressure him that way and get a slightly easier third ball. To be honest, my backhand down the line's probably one of my best weapons. I definitely need to use it more. I did try standing back on the first serve return, but this only really works if you get good depth or the ball hangs in the air long enough to give you time to recover. Again, just using that backhand down the line, almost just pushing it, trying to sneak in, taking it as early as I can. My opponent started taking his third ball very early. On top of the big serving, this made it very difficult to even get a chance at a break. I guess I was just trying to stay as tough as possible, not give anything away there. One wrong move at this stage, one break, and the match is pretty much done. Getting into these battles at deuce wasn't something that I really wanted, but again, you've just got to accept the situation. Trusty backhand flick coming in handy there, getting me out of a little bit of trouble. So, managed to cling on to the hold. Let's see what I can do in this next service game. Towards the middle of this second set, we both started to play some very good tennis. I feel like the level was ramping up, but also the pressure on my serve. In these moments, I needed to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more proactive. I was hitting the ball well, but not really doing enough damage. I needed to take the ball a little bit earlier, maybe move in a little bit earlier as well. Managed to produce a decent serve just to get myself out of a little bit of trouble and managed to, again, get through another service game with a hold. Again, using that early backhand line, I feel like that was quite a good tactic for me. It was working pretty well. So I ended up having 2 chances to hold and take it to 5-all, but ended up making some pretty silly decisions and then pretty much just gave away that last game, which was obviously very disappointing. It's not how I wanted the match to end. I wanted to keep going, maybe take it to a third set. But again, I don't think my level was really good enough. Bikes in there. So it is a new day and it's time to forget about the loss yesterday, but try and learn from the mistakes. These UTR events are so good because they give you so many matches. So by the end of the week, it's pretty hard not to know what you're doing. But a new day also brings a new challenge. So my opponent today was Jay Johnson Holdren. Slightly younger than me, I think he's 18. Up and coming rising junior star. So obviously there's a little bit of pressure on me, as I would say I'm probably the favourite in this match. But as we know, in tennis, that often doesn't mean a lot. It's all down to performance on the day. So yeah, I was just keen to try and get into another match, stick to my process, and try and get another win on the board. I honestly found this match quite difficult to get into. I feel my opponent wasn't really giving me that much rhythm, and they were also playing very aggressive, changing it up, hitting a lot of drop shots and using that out wide lefty serve. So obviously being a left-hander, it changes my patterns very slightly. Again, you don't want to make too many changes. You don't want it to be too different. So I had a few chances early on to get the break. My opponent ended up saving them with some pretty big serving. I knew that I was going to have to stay a little bit patient. I wasn't quite playing at a level that I was really, really happy with, but this happens sometimes. You've just got to accept it. You've just got to try and do your best. And obviously my opponent as well was coming out with some pretty good tennis, so had to respect that. So I guess my goal was to just stay as patient as I could and then just wait for those chances, wait for a bit of a dip in level to make a bit of a move. I guess this is the crazy thing about tennis. It's the same court, the same conditions, same balls, but it's just a completely different match. The pace is different compared to yesterday. And there was also a bit of a different mindset, although I was trying as hard as I could not to think about the matchup, obviously playing a younger player, somebody that I would be supposed to be beating on paper. Part of the battle is moving that out of the way and just getting focused and trying to do the right things.
Out.
So I managed to lock in on my opponent's service game. It wasn't the prettiest tennis. It was a bit scrappy, but I was just getting through it and found myself with a breakpoint opportunity. Again, not the way that I would want to break serve, but I'll take it.
Game copy.
So managed to consolidate the break and then tried to set about putting some more pressure on my opponent's serve. I was feeling way better at this point than I did at the start of the match. I was feeling a lot more relaxed, a bit looser, and I was just starting to play very within myself, very consistent, just trying to force some of those errors. I don't quite know what happened with the score here, but it's frozen a little bit. That definitely wasn't the score in the game, but I guess it doesn't really matter so much.
Game.
So after a very scrappy first set, I managed to take it 6-3. And going into the second set, I'd be serving, so a lot of momentum on my side. I honestly have no idea how I won this point.
31.
But in this second set, I was starting to play way more confidently, hitting my spots on serve. My opponent was also stepping his game up. He was sparking a few more winners, and this felt a bit more like the level. I feel like a really good way of neutralizing a lefty is with the slice. They often like to rip their forehand into your backhand, especially if you're a one-hander. They try to get it high, get you moving off the court. And the slice is just a great way of keeping the ball low, meaning they can't get it up as high, meaning the next ball you might have a chance of hitting either a drive backhand or you might even work the point well enough to get onto your forehand. And I was also trying to use the slice a little bit to draw my opponent forward, especially when I was slightly out of position. So no idea why, but the score froze. Again, I'm actually not sure what the score was at this point, but I'm pretty sure I was a breakup.
Game copy.
So I ended up taking the match 6-3, 6-2, a lot tougher than the score suggests. I think that Jay is very good and he's definitely going to be a player to watch out for in the future. So I'd like to say a big thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and I guess I'll see you next time.